Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to another player profile. We've got a bit of a day-night player profile going on here. That is perhaps something I might need to invest in a bit of a better light. If I'm going to convert to videos, I might want to... I used to just be able to rock in at midnight, do a little podcast. No one would know. No one would know if it was 4 p.m. or midnight. I'm a little bit more accountable now. But look, Lance Franklin I'm going to talk about today. Now, he's a real interesting one because he's been a superstar for so many years, hasn't he? He's been very, very kind to us, averaging great numbers over the journey. But of late, particularly last year, he really fell away, obviously due to injury. Now, we still saw him post great numbers, particularly in the last round. I mean, in round 23, he kicked 4, scored 108 SuperCoach points, and he's still got that brilliance. So he's a guy that's worth discussing, because he's 394k. We've got great memories of Franklin producing awesome numbers for our sides, and he's a superstar of the game. But for me, it's a definite no. Now, I'll tell you what you're going to hear throughout the preseason. You're going to hear that Buddy's flying. He's in great nick. He's back to his fantastic best. Best preseason in years. But just don't go near him. And I'll tell you why, or at least my reasons why. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. But we saw him in 2018 average 100.1. And to be fair, I'd probably been talking about Buddy falling out of relevancy before that, and he proved me wrong. I thought he'd drop away in 2018, but he hit the 3 figures again. Where last year's 72.6, for a range of reasons, didn't play as many games as previous. And that's got to be a concern for starters. But he had one injury-affected game, so that's not that it affects his score too much, but it's worth adding. But 394k, 33 years of age, it's just far too risky. Buddy will have those games where he plays exceptionally well, kicks a lot of goals, and tons up. He's still going to have those games, but we're going to definitely see more and more lower scores in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and that's something we've just got to be concerned about. And yes, he's an absolute star of our game, but at some point, players fall away. And often it comes about when injury starts to creep into their game. And he's a key forward, albeit one of the most agile and mobile we've ever seen. But at 33, at some stage, you're going to get towards that cliff edge and you're going to start to slide down it. And I think Buddy is at that point. On the flip side, if you're looking at picking him, you got to ask yourself, what are you looking for? Now, clearly that's an average in the high 90s. I think that's fairly ambitious. I just would be shocked if we saw that. Maybe if the Sydney Swans were still an extremely good side, I might think otherwise. But Sydney aren't travelling that well. If Buddy was in a very good side, was getting great service in a team that was kicking, 14 to 18 goals most weeks, I'd say he could take a reasonable chunk of that pie and kick 2, 3, 4 a game and find enough of the ball. But he definitely isn't going as high up the ground as he once did. He's playing a lot deeper, and that's due to that lack of mobility, or not lack of mobility, but loss of his mobility is probably a better way to say it. And we just see it with every player. Every superstar has their prime of their careers, and then they plateau a little bit. Then injury sets in, old age, they drop off a touch. And the fact that Buddy is returning from injury and is in a poor side, and even if he was going very well last year, we would still be discussing the fact that a drop-off in his numbers is more likely than not. It's not a crack at Buddy Franklin as a footballer. I just think that at some point, we're going to see a dip in his numbers, injury aside, and I would expect him to average probably around 90 if he's fully fit. I mean, the danger is that injury gets him again, and he could average somewhere in the 70s. So you've got to take into account that he averaged 72.6, and the only time he had an injury-affected game, or at least I could see, all I look is the time on ground, and the only dip in time on ground was in one game where he scored 52. So those numbers were dipping anyway. And I think it's a combination of a side that's struggling, he's a key forward, and a side that's struggling, and he's getting older. So I think Buddy's most relevant quality to be on the park is to help Isaac Heaney push further up the ground. I think that will probably be the main thing, because Heaney at times has been that, I guess, bigger-bodied target player, an aerial threat when Buddy's not been playing. But hopefully if Buddy can play, while he won't be in my side, he'll hopefully have some positive effect on my F3. So let me know what you think. Most of my play profiles have been positive so far, but not endorsing one of my favourites over the journey, Buddy Franklin. But let me know what you reckon. Comment below. I will be doing a bit of a club preview mini-series. I had that suggested, so we'll probably start that later in the year / early New Year. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. And I'll also hopefully get my team picker going and hopefully have a look at that. But I'll be back soon. Cheers.